Barbershop with Q.
Oh, okay. All right.
John, the magnificent.
I'm with that.
I was just trying to amp it up, you know.
Okay. Grind me, thirsty, bout it, you heard me. Grind me, thirsty, bout it, you heard me. Grind me, thirsty, bout it, you heard me.
Live at the Barbershop.
What's up, y'all? Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. It happens. It happens when you go live. You heard? It happens. So tonight, we have an interesting guest. He's a good friend of the Barbershop, my West Coast brother. Got my man Davidson King, author of a book that I really thought was an interesting book, just off the title alone.
Yeah.
So the title reads, "What About God?" Repeat it again.
What about
But
God?
what about God? Right? So so let me just read it exactly how it is right here on the thing. Encountering God at the intersection of American politics, religion, and culture. The intersection. Which is interesting because we've always had a lot of discussions on politics, and before I go any further, let me just introduce everybody so we can get straight into it with everything.
Yeah.
I'm your host for the night. My name is John. Sitting next to me is my man Q. What it do?
What's up?
I got my man AP, the political refugee. AP's in the building. What up? The aficionado right there.
He muted, but he here.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Okay.
when you ready, AP, just jump in. All right. So again, this book I found very interesting, due to the fact of politics, religion, where we ask ourselves a lot of times, can the two really mix? Because we've seen America at its best when they put religion at the forefront for a lot of decision-making
Yeah.
things that leave a lot of people out on the equality portion of things. So it was interesting to read different chapters of the book and have my points that I want to jump into. You have yours. So let me just reach out to my man Davidson and have him join us on the line so he can discuss and go deeper into what drove him to write this book, and what the title, main thing I want to know about.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Davidson, what's going on? You're live on the air, live at the Barbershop. What's up?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you doing? Is this John?
Yes, sir. What's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good to hear you.
All right. Yeah, sorry about it. Right now, we, I know we were trying earlier to do the video portion of things, and it just kept dropping. Don't know what the issue was, so we figured, look, we just gonna still make it happen. However, with all these $1 million technology, we still can't get connections.
Yeah, these things happen, but I thank you for making the effort, man, and for giving me a platform.
No.
Appreciate it.
Listen, like I said, honestly, I do want to try again at a later date to see if we can get you, because I want the people to see who you are and understand. It's always different with a visual. You know what I mean?
Right.
Visual is
True.
always different. So
Makes a big difference.
I would love to have you on again. I don't want to postpone this any further, but I definitely would rather have you in live video. You know what I mean? So maybe we can
To see the face behind this.
we could think
freaking
about
book,
what we could probably do for tonight. Let me see how we could work this out. So we could probably break it up in two and not discuss everything fully all the way through,
Right.
Yeah.
and then try and
Yeah,
do another one where we can visually get you on. You know what I mean?
Sounds good, man. You guys make the call. You're the professionals.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll do it like that, because I definitely would rather, the audience and everyone see who you are rather than just hearing it. You know what I mean?
Because
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
my brother, we're gonna rebuke the devil from all of these things that is happening already, man. All these technical difficulties, the devil don't want you to speak about this, man.
Right.
We're gonna rebuke that, man. So we gotta have you back
We
on,
do,
man.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
Because
we can't stop the show.
yeah,
Nah.
you've been having that problem on your hand, and we trying to start, and we got the same technical difficulty over
Yeah,
here. So you know,
it's I don't
Yeah.
know. But
Right.
show must go on. Let's make it happen. So
yeah.
my first question to you,
Mm.
and I'm gonna go now. My co-host is Q and AP, producer on the shows, Black IT. So I wrote down a couple of things that I found very interesting in the book that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
I won't put it all out on the table today. Like I said, I'd rather break it up in part twos. So I'm gonna put small things out. We're gonna speak more into who you are today,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
we'll dive deeper into the book itself on the part two version. If that's okay
Sounds
with
good.
you. Okay.
Hmm.
So first, I just wanted to know the title. How did you come up with that title? Because it's a very interesting title when you say the intersection of politics, religion, and culture.
Hmm.
That's a very interesting title, and it stuck out to me. So I was very intrigued with it. And then the main one is, what about God? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what about God? Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So
If you look at you have a copy of the book, you look at the graphic, you see that the what stands out in the title is "But God," and that there's a couple passages in the Bible where it says "But God," right?
right.
So I wanted to get that in also. Now, but what about God is when I, as a Christian, somebody from the islands,
Yeah.
living in America as a Christian, I became a Christian in America. I grew up in church in the islands, but I committed to Christianity in America. And, I did some studying, met and fellowship with Christians from different sides of the spectrum. And when you put the politics and the religion and the culture in with that, it is kind of like, but what about God? Because God says some very specific things for us to relate to and for us how we should be. But the things like, politics, religion, and culture, as I got in the subtitle, they get in the way. So that's why the title is like a twofold thing, I would say, but because ultimately God, His will be done. For the man, for us, mankind is, but what about God? When we make our decisions about these, the politics, the religion, the culture, the things that we interact with in our daily living.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it.
So let me ask you, with your Caribbean background, do you find that this can apply internationally, or is it just a U.S. American situation?
Well, a lot of it is kind of, I guess, universal, but there are some things that are uniquely American because of, the history we have and the current tensions we got within different groups.
Right.
We've all seen it in the last 10 years, even more so than before, but mainly how, the religion, Christianity and the politics intersect very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
We see it, like you get questions like, well, how somebody as a Christian could vote for this? It's a big debate.
Right.
And it could be divisive too.
So, all right. So let me ask you now, who is Davidson King?
Man, I'm a man from the Caribbean island of Barbados. I came here as a musician and I performed, Caribbean music, a lot of different places, mainly the local Southern California, Nevada, things like that. And then the big change came when a friend, he was an American musician, he asked me to come and play at a church with him. And I was there, and you got this kind of internal dialogue. And in my mind, I said, but I play music in other places. What is different about this? And I realized, it was the Bible was different.
Okay, so
did somebody say something?
no, yeah, sorry for cutting. No, so you start off from what type of music until you were invited to the church?
To play, gospel and picture. And, I realized that, I've been playing music, but this is a different situation. What is different about this situation? And I realized it was the Bible made the difference. And having grown up, I'm hearing Caribbean accent, so I know somebody here from the island and got that, understand that background. Pretty much, we're very much brought up in the church for a background in the islands, Right. We're not too far from that. So it kind of drove me to start studying, go to school. And through going to school, I got involved in teaching, which was another responsibility. And when you have responsibility, you tend to have to, you're either going to be real or not. And if you're real, you're going to take it seriously. So it really made me seek answers to the questions. And I had to look, because I was in two camps. I was in, the black church, and I'll just say it this way, the white church and the black church. Mm-hmm. So I had to look to the scriptures to see, well, how do people deal with these issues, the characters in the Bible? How did they deal with these certain issues that I encountered? Mm-hmm. And so that's where this came from. That was pretty much me. And I've served in Kojic with Pentecost, white non-denominational. I am with all groups every week. 3 times a week I'm with different groups, and that has been going on for years. So it forced me to look to the scriptures to say, what is the Bible really teaching about these things, and also how do I deal with them?
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what. Go ahead.
Yeah, because one of my questions, you actually dive right into it. I read in part of the book you say why there is white church and black churches in America.
And the thing is about that, and that's actually one of the first, on the back cover of the book, that is the first question. Yeah. But it's a rhetorical question. I don't seek to give an answer to that question. I think each person has to give but I try to show in the book how it affects the people's thinking. Because if you have the book there, the second statement, or whether on the back cover, it says what caused a black pastor, author, and educator to decide that he and his family would no longer attend houses of worship where everyone looks like us. So, obviously this is an African American saying, I'm not going to go to churches where everybody looks like me. And this is an influential person. And he did say this in the night, and I put it in the book. It's in the book. It's where he says that. And I'll say something about the book. You'll notice I have a lot of footnotes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the bibliography, because that's what you might call the receipt, if you will. I'm not making this up. You can see you go online and find all these things.
Yeah, because the book is not just a regular book. It's like it has so much scriptures in it, and it's like it's a Bible. It's in itself also.
Yeah, and I wrote it having taught, I kind of wrote it like that intentionally.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm gonna go through these scriptures, and you gotta follow up scriptures. Like you see something, you want to follow it up, not just the pinpoint one. You want to go further. So I've been looking at some of them through the Bible. Just reading them, because it gives you Mm-hmm. And I have a question also. I don't know if you want to speak on this. The one that say many Christians appear for most part incapable. Many American Christians are incapable of agreeing with other believers on oppositing political viewpoints.
Hmm. Right.
Because I've
And
seen it, yeah. I've seen it.
yeah, and you had a question about that, or
Yeah, yeah. I'd just like to
You can elaborate on that a little
yeah,
bit more.
elaborate on that.
yeah, yeah. I wish I could see exactly where it's in books so I could give it a little more context. I do remember it, but I just don't have the kids. But it's really interesting because, well, when you get to politics, you typically have a conservative and a liberal view, and the thing is, as a Christian, it becomes problematic if you are going to put either one of those views above your Christianity.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
Christianity goes back 2,000 years. These issues that we're dealing with, we can say, if you want to be magnanimous, you can say, 500 years or 250 years if you want to look at how America was founded politically.
Right.
So I think that, and this is just a personal opinion, that a lot of people get caught up in the politics as Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, I don't have a problem with people who are not Christians having a strong political viewpoint. That's natural.
Right.
But as Christians,
yeah.
you should be more influenced by a different principle, if you will. You shouldn't be that overly influenced by the political climate.
Yeah, but on a different note, I often hear, like, in Jamaica, where I'm from, is in Jamaica, it's like people would there's a lot of thing in the politics thing where people would say the churches should be more involved.
Mm-hmm.
The churches should
Mhm.
stand up and be more involved in the politics. Do you think that it and what you are saying right now? You think the Christians should just sit back, but in Jamaica, you have people, regular citizens, say the church should be involved more in the politics and say something when something is not looking right, or So what you think
Right.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we have to be careful. I think the Christian is called to a higher standard. And here's where I can give you an example. When I was in Barbados. It was in the 80s. Barbados had like a small gambling industry, slot machines.
Right.
I don't know if you had them in Jamaica. And I happened to work in that industry. And these people in the slot machine industry at one time got with politicians and decided they were going to bring tables in, which was a more lucrative form of gambling. You can gamble heavy on tables. Slot machines were a quarter.
Right.
Yeah. But at tables, poker, and that kind of thing, you can gamble big. So I worked in that industry, and the owner of the company that I worked at told me about this. And so some weeks went by, and I asked him, well, how is it going? He said, the church said that will bring an unsavory element into the island, so it can't happen. And it didn't happen. That is where the church should be, a higher moral standard. What I've seen here is that the church is you're either conservative or liberal, which is you're under the influence of the politics rather than influencing the politics. Give you an example. Do you guys are familiar with the paper or plastic? I call it a controversy. Yeah?
What is that?
If you go shopping, you're for paper or plastic, right?
Oh yeah. You see, you're on the right coast for that.
Okay, there you go. So I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm old enough to know when they switch from paper to plastic.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, John remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we switched and there was a reason, because paper was unsustainable. It was too expensive, whatever. Right? So they thought plastic would be better. 50 years later, we have a environmental crisis from the plastic.
Right.
But there's no voice telling people, now people are saying paper is the way to go, paper is sustainable. But there's no voice saying, oh, you know what, we used to use paper. And no, we went to plastic and that was a disaster. going back to paper is not the answer.
Mhm.
We should use an alternative, which
Right.
is, like we do have an alternative, which is the bags for life, reusable bags.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying is that America is a country of the 340 million people that vote, and maybe 200 million would say they are Christians, and you can't hear this voice saying, "No, you know what? We made a mistake when we did that." At least some people would be willing to go with the more sensible alternative.
Right.
But we never have that voice above the culture.
Right.
And that's where I think, the problem lies. The church is more influenced by the politics than it is influencing the politics.
Now, I read a section in the book that I found very interesting when they talk about, when they say, man is in the likeness of God. And you broke it down where you were saying it's not so much of the image, when they say the likeness of
Not
God.
a physical image.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
not
more of morality,
Moral, yeah.
internal, a morality journey or visual.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting because a lot of people would normally gravitate to the fact of saying,
a black one.
use that, right, use the visual portion of saying this is what God or Jesus
Looks like.
and the reflection of that person is this person or this set of people and things of that nature. And when you break it down like that, and then you move again into politics, cultural things that we have amongst us now, and you look at it on a whole and you're saying, well, that's very interesting because again, on the historical portion of things, and then again, this is parts in the book. So if anyone has a book, this is a good read for you. When we talk about equality, we talk about all men are created equal and different things of that nature. It is interesting to know that a lot of individuals back then were highly boasted Christians, but their viewpoint on equality and what they felt that image
Up to this,
reflects or should be
up to today,
did not include everyone that surrounded them
and it still happens.
outside of outside of themselves. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, there was pointers in the book where it says things were made for insiders, not outsiders. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. And I'm quoting some people there. Like I said, I have all the, that's why I put the references thing. So the people wouldn't say, I'm seeing this. This is what people who study experts in these areas, that's what they say.
Right.
And rightly so.
And,
Yeah.
Listen,
Um,
when I tell you
mhm.
you did your due diligence on putting this book together, I'm proud of you with everything here. I don't even want to go so deep because I really want to save some of this for part 2. So trust me,
Sure.
I there's a lot of things I want to get into right now, but I'm holding back on a couple of things because the book is so much
And we
things in there that I really, really, really want to touch. But like I said, I enjoy the fact that, like you said, you brought all your receipts as well.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, with all those scripture, if you don't believe what I'm saying, go read that.
Mm.
You see,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, this is just I'm just presenting evidence, if you will. And I'm not trying to condemn any one group or anyone. I'm just because, and I stated this in the introduction. It really is about sanctification, like being set apart from the world. Because America is a very powerful and influential country, and you can see how, like I said earlier, the politics more influence the church than the church influences the politics. And that is one of the problems if we don't focus on sanctification, which is like, you're set apart from the world, but also you're not overly influenced by the world.
Mhm.
Like, it, like how do you think about the history of a country?
Mhm.
Okay, let me say what I mean. On page 4, I don't know if anybody has a copy of the book
Yeah.
on hand,
Yeah.
but on page 4, the last paragraph, there's like a from Leviticus 25, in liberty, etc.
You said 4
And
or 4 or 40? 4?
4.
it,
Yeah, it say from
yeah,
Leviticus 25:10,
Yeah.
verse 10.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you look, if when you read that, the person who wrote this, and this I included this in the book because this came to my phone from a group that I've been a part of them, and they're in LA. I don't see them too often, but they kept me on their chat.
Right.
So it came to me on the 4th of July, and I think it was 23. There's certain historical inaccuracies. If you look at it, every one of the 56 signers then took a knee. I'm pretty much down to the last 3 lines on page 4. But to pray, he said, not to protest police brutality, but to pray and seek the wisdom of God. And, the quote the scripture.
Mhm.
But when you look into it, this is something that Benjamin Franklin said. This is what this person said. But when you look on the other page, on page 5, some other things that Benjamin Franklin said give them deeper insight, because Franklin also said, and this is the first paragraph on page 5, in the quote, he said, devise a means for removing the inconsistency from the character of the American people. And then he said, and promote mercy and justice towards this distressed race. My point is, if you're going to present it like in a devotional, you're sharing with your congregation, and you present it like what is said on page 4, you're really misrepresenting history. And that's a sign of being influenced by the culture.
Right.
As opposed to being like, this is the truthful history. And I'm sorry to run on, but I want to tie it together. I had to look to the scriptures to see, well, how do people, or how did the characters in the Bible relate to God and their nation? And I found 3 examples. You probably know, you guys know Daniel. That's a very popular character. Right. Daniel in the lion's den, right? Mm-hmm. And there were 2 others that you may know them, Ezra and Nehemiah, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of like, closely around the same time. Ezra and Nehemiah were credited with rebuilding the nation when it came out of Babylon. When they went into exile and they came out, Ezra was one leader and Nehemiah was another. And Daniel was in Babylon, so they were around the same time period. But when you look at their prayer, they all prayed for the nation. And in their prayer, each individual said, from the time of our fathers, we have been in rebellion. Which means they stand before God and they acknowledge the passing of the and take accountability for it. They didn't try to whitewash it. So to me, I say, you just stand before God. From back, he tells about what about God? You stand before God and say, Lord, I'm a sinner. I've been a sinner. We are sinners. You don't try to say, oh, well, the founding of America, because everybody is not going to be in agreement with that.
Right.
We all know that, and that's historically true. So that is the kind of thing I talk about, being influenced by the culture.
We have an online family member here that's saying, shout out to Soul Chill 07. What's good, family? The scriptures tell us to study to show yourself approved. 2 Timothy 2:15.
Yeah.
Second Timothy.
Second.
Yeah. Show yourself approved unto God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these churchgoers. Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
No. On page 4, we're from the Leviticus 25, verse 10. Further down at the bottom, it says, every one of the 56 singers then took a knee, not to protest police brutality, but to pray and ask, seek the wisdom of God. Is that in the Bible?
No, he's relating what the founders did.
Okay. I see the declaration here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see the declaration. Yeah.
but you notice something, and I addressed that in another paragraph, not to protest police brutality, because that is like a big and a current social issue. Yeah,
Yeah, because that's so regular now. That's daily
right,
situation, you know.
right. So when you put it like that, it is kind of really um, disingenuous. I use that word because as believers and members of the body of Christ, we seek to adhere to truth. The truth of any matter, right? And so because even to go to that, not to protest police brutality, but to pray and seek the wisdom of God. So you're talking about a group of people who take the knee against police brutality now. We know from Colin Kaepernick was his last name? Yeah?
Colin Kaepernick.
And on. Yeah. But here's the thing. The same Benjamin Franklin that is quoted in that passage, he also said, "Promote mercy and justice towards this distressed race." So really what you're really looking at is that this race was distressed from then, for the whole history. To take a knee against injustice, you're kind of looking down on it when, from the very founding of the nation, Benjamin Franklin points out that there is injustice leveled at this race. Yeah. So again, I don't want it to be like an attack of anybody. It's the standing of like righteousness and holiness. That no, we need to look at a higher standard, admit to these things of the past, and move on.
So let me. And
again,
go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So let me just clarify for the audience, for anyone out there. Like you said, you want to make sure everyone know that it's not singling out any one group. It's not being negative about anything. It's just pointing out certain things that are part of history. It's like you said, the receipts are there. So it's just highlighting certain things and saying, okay, we know this. Now what do we do moving forward to correct these things? Like you said, plastic or paper, same thing. If we know better, do better. If we're gonna do this the correct way, then that has to include all. It can't exclude these sets and those sets and different things of that nature. And again, when it comes to religion, politics, like you say, unfortunately, this is all intertwined. This intersection, like you stated, is something that we all are on that information highway. So again, according to your moral values and where you are spiritually, will determine what exit you get off of,
Right.
And at the end of the day, we just want to reiterate to everyone, the book is strictly just information for you to get a better understanding of something. It's not something to push you in one direction or say this is the right way or anything of that nature. So I just want to make that clear, and you can go further with that. But for me reading it, this is what I got from it, and from speaking to you and hearing you talk today, that's what I gathered. But go ahead.
Yeah, and kind of elaborate on I had and I think I sent you a copy of a review done by a review company, Book Life Publishers Weekly.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
and this is a credible review company. They do reviews for bookstores, etc., and libraries.
Right.
And the takeaway that they got from the book, there was a one sentence takeaway. They said it's a thoughtful call for American believers is to unify biblical Christianity. And that's the takeaway. I just put these things in because not a lot of people just study American history are comfortable looking at American history. So I had to put the historical context there so people, could ground for some of the issues that we're dealing with today.
But see, here's the thing that has me puzzled. Why I'm very, especially in this time period that we're in right now, with this political party and everything of that nature. is what is all right. So it's not as if we don't know the history, right? As much as you want to whitewash it or erase it, which is what they're trying to do, is erase it altogether.
Well,
That will never solve the problem because you fail to realize this is something that's generational. For some people, unfortunately, it's even embedded in the DNA at this point now too, and that goes for both sides, positive and negative. So again, why not address the issue and understand that, okay, because this is what I hear a lot of times. Well, that wasn't me. That wasn't my time. I wasn't around then, and this and that. Understandable. But you still have to understand something that, again, even for watching films and seeing things that happened back then, and you know that the person on the other end looks like you, that alone hits different.
Yeah.
I think the problem with a lot of this stuff when it comes to religion, politics, culture, at the end of the day is a lot of people are not putting themselves in that other person's shoes. And they would like for you to just move on. And they're not realizing it is hard to move on because a lot of things aren't allowing you to move on. We still live in a time where you still have to be in that workforce and you have to give 110, 150, while others are only giving 50. You still live in a timeline where, people are still using the N-words, especially now. It's like it's back on the rise even more now. So again, when you see all these things and then you see certain individuals within the politics that wants to use religion and say certain things, I'm a Christian, I'm a this, I'm a that, but then their actions are showing total opposite.
Wow.
This is again why it is detrimental for people to have a book like this to kind of counterbalance or get an understanding of why things are the way it is to this day where we're at right now. This is not something that is we just pull a rabbit out of a hat. This is something that's been going on for centuries now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, I don't know why they are really trying to wipe it clear off the map as if we are supposed to just say, okay, well, I don't remember anything past yesterday. So moving forward, any injustice, any brutality, anything that happened, we could just move on. Now, I'm going to point out something which is interesting. So within the book now, and this is 1215, okay? 1215, all right? Declaration of Independence stating that the king and his government are not above the law. We're not talking about yesterday. We're not talking about no king's movement. It's ironic how
what's happening?
It comes back around.
The Magna Carta.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's just very interesting how they tell you all the time history usually repeats itself.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see that, and then now in this present time that we're in, to see they have a movement called No King's Movement. So at the end of the day, it's just like I said, you did your due diligence on putting the receipts in. I'll give you that.
So and there's so much contradiction about the Bible, but all that's happening, it's somewhere in the scriptures that telling you all these things that's happening. It's not strange. For if you're a person who studies it as Mr. Davidson studies it, the Bible, have the real knowledge of the Bible, there are things that's happening right now. There's no surprise. For
Well,
certain
most definitely.
certain things that happen, I know for you, like certain things that's happening right now, it's not a surprise when somebody else in the outside world would say, "Whoa, did you see that? Did you hear this?" For a person like you who study the Bible, you can go to a scripture and said it was said here, so it's not a surprise for me. For the person who doesn't, follow the follow,
The scriptures.
yeah, the
Mhm.
scriptures, they would never have a clue to it. It's not
Right.
it's a surprise for them, but you can pinpoint a scripture and said, my friend, it's not. It was said here. It's just happening now, and the
Mhm.
Bible is fulfilling. You see what I'm saying? Yeah,
True.
most of what's happening now, it's in a scripture.
So let me ask you a question now for you yourself. Was this something brewing years ago, and um with a lot of the different shifts in the political agendas and different things of that nature throughout the different years, did this motivate you more to write this, or was this something that you got up one day and it was just like a light bulb went off, an epiphany that said, you know what? Yeah, this is what I need to do right now. Is this something that just came arbitrarily, or was it something that has been brewing, but you just never had that final push?
I felt the urge to write like way back 2016,
Mm.
and I just didn't know what. But I started. I know I did. I did want to write like from my perspective. My experiences of American Christianity. Against what I understand as biblical teaching. But I didn't know exactly how I want to approach it, and so I thought about it, and talked to people, a lot of things, and kept doing a little research, taking notes, and I had a plan about maybe 21, I think. Shared it with a friend of mine. She was a teacher at there's a place over here called Vanguard University. It's a Christian college, and she taught there. And I sent it to her, and she took a long time to get back to me, but she did get back to me and told me that we were both writing the same thing,
Okay.
and she sent me a copy of her draft. And when I read hers, I realized, well, this isn't quite what I wanted to say. I realized that maybe I was being influenced by American experiences. So I had to say to myself, no, I want to write as a Barbadian,
Right.
an outsider.
Right.
So that's where I approached it from, and that's where it came from. It took a lot of years. And then I think in 2019, I also took a class with Calvary. That's where I did a lot of my studying. I don't have a degree or anything like that. Just did a lot of studying over the years.
Right.
And I did to this one course. It was Christian ethics. And it was really about, as a Christian, how do you deal with social issues like homosexuality, abortion, transgenderism, some of the things I put on the back of the book.
Right. I saw that. Very
And
interesting.
but it kind of opened me up not only to how as the Bible like addresses those things, but also to how because along with the course they gave us a book to study, and the book was written by two well-known American theologians, Frank Turek, he's still around, and the other guy is Geisler. He's dead. Guys, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but Frank Turek does the college tours.
Okay.
He's like an apologist, Christian apologist. You'll probably come across his name if you don't know of him. Now that I've mentioned his name, you'll probably run across it.
Right.
Yeah, Frank Turek. But so then you would study the book, and then you have to give pros and cons of the book. 3 reasons why you think the book is good, and 3 reasons why you think the weaknesses in the book. And what I saw, I wrote a paper. It was just like moral relativism, selective morality, if you will.
Right.
I pointed this out that they made it a point of mentioning how the money was spent to Christianize the Indians, but they never mentioned the genocide of the Indians. If you're talking about morality, I think that was important.
Yeah, I had that written down actually, because speaking on it, when we spoke about it again about all men. We speak on policies which
Right.
only benefit some citizens, but excluded Native Americans, Black, Chinese, Spanish American. We spoke about again the Spanish American War in 1848. The Dred Scott,
Right.
which we've had a discussion on our show about Dred Scott decision back in 1857, and for a lot of Asian Americans or Asians itself that don't know their own history on certain things, the Chinese Exclusion Acts. There's a lot of things
Right.
that went down. Now, you know, it's funny enough because I've been doing my own little history on the different cultures, Irish,
Mhm.
Chinese, Caribbean, Black, Spanish, Italians, and different things. And it's very interesting to understand when we speak on a word called Caucasian, because I had a coworker of mine and I asked him, I said, what makes a Caucasian a Caucasian? Because he's Caucasian. And he said to me,
Mhm.
I don't understand. I said, well, what makes a Caucasian a Caucasian? Outside of the fact of, you know, the history of Caucasus Mountains and different things of that nature that we've studied before, outside of that, which Caucasian has the hierarchy? Because it's odd that from history of me studying things, Italians had their share of things. Irish had their share of things. The Irish was probably treated the worst out of them. You understand? And
Mhm.
And they were Caucasian.
and they're Caucasian. So I'm trying to figure out now, like, you know, is it just the Germans that sit high on the totem pole, or because at the end of the day, granted, we felt as Black, we felt a longer stint of things. And as
Mhm.
time went on, even for the Irish, they themselves broke into other things that would push them to a different pinnacle. Like a lot of them transferred from, because at one point Irish was below Blacks, believe it or
Mhm.
not, in
That's-
America,
That's a piece of
and,
history.
which is interesting when I'm finding all this stuff out. And they brought themselves to a point now where they integrated themselves deeply into politics and the police force. Same thing with the
Mhm.
Italians. You understand? So with that now, it made a change drastically, not only in their community, but in the different things that will allow them to flourish different. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So even
Mhm.
again, intertwining it again where the religious portion, the cultural situation, and the politics. Because again, mind you, a lot of Italians, a lot of Irish, they're very Christian based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see
They
what I'm
got
saying?
strong with the Catholic. Mhm.
Very, and like you say, in the Caribbean, how we grew up, a lot of us either, you know, if you could afford it, you went to private school, Catholic school, this and that, and you know, you've always that it's been already locked in for a lot of us from birth, basically. It's not until you reach a
Right.
certain age where you make a decision now whether you're going to shift different or you know you're going to keep going on that path. So outside of that, it's just very interesting because, like I said, again, and I think again with us coming from the Caribbean, we have a different viewpoint when it comes to politics. Now, don't get me wrong now, and I don't know how it is in Barbados, but I know how it is in Jamaica. Now, during the political season, it gets very demanding and very intense.
Yeah, I have Jamaican friends, and I've heard that. Yeah, and you know, on the news, yeah, Jamaican politics, rough. I know.
Yeah, so I mean, I went to Cayman Islands, and Cayman Islands is like very laid back, different, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Things is just, hey, just put it in the ballot. Don't worry about it. You know, it's like it's different. Over in Jamaica,
British.
no, but I'm just saying, regardless, it's not only that, but it's just a mindset at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether you're under
We
British
go
rule
hard.
or you decide to, you know, become independent, at the end of the day, I don't think that ever is going to really change in Jamaica until certain things is just different. Because I've grown up around it for 50 years and it hasn't changed. So at the end of the day, I think with us in the Caribbean, due to the fact, and don't get me wrong now, we do have a rainbow of people within our culture. You have, speaking on Jamaica, we have Spanish, we have Jewish, we have Chinese, right? You know, you have Indian, you have all these different cultures that's blended. You have Germans, you have all these different cultures, British, all that stuff. So, but again, for the vast majority of us, we've never really experienced racism. Now you have experienced classism when it comes to economics, as if we have the hierarchy as far as where your family sits economically.
Yeah, sometimes it's
so that we've experienced. Yes. You understand? But we've never really experienced anything where you're strictly excluded from something because of how you look. Yeah. And it doesn't matter sometime with the money, because we've seen rich people like Oprah, Michael Jordan, Master P, all these people get discriminated against, and
with all that,
and with all the money in the world that they have. You know what I'm saying? So it really didn't make much of a difference. But again, I think coming from Barbados with you, your viewpoint and the lens that you're looking through, you can actually sit back and really look at things in a different perspective without judging, without swaying to one side or saying I'm this, I'm that politically or anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So I'll allow you to speak on that and you know, just elaborate a little bit more if you can.
Yeah. To me, it is simple, because I did make the distinction that there are certain things that people who are not believers can do and will do. I'm saying that believers are called to a different standard. Right? So all the things that happen that you mentioned, all the historical atrocities, etc. Yeah, I kind of put that down as human things. Here's something I put in the book. I mentioned there's something that is consistent with human nature. A couple times you mentioned all men are created equal. Yeah, that's a comes from the Declaration of Independence. So, but at the same time, you also pointed out that it didn't apply to all men. But I look at the, like, from the biblical narrative of the Genesis, and this is an example that I use. When God gave Adam and Eve certain commands not to eat of the fruit of a certain tree, and it is said that the serpent asked Eve, did God say this? And Eve said, he said, don't even touch it. But yes, she ate it. It's the same thing. It's a human nature. I look at that. Well, you say all men are created equal, that you don't follow through.
Right.
You know, you kind of know the right thing to do. And I put it that way so that I wouldn't seem that I'm singling anybody out. I'm saying we are all to that weakness as mankind before God.
We have now we have some of our online family members that are putting some things up. So I have my man So Chill. He said those who've been benefiting from the dominant society will never acknowledge the injustice it has built on. It was built on, my mistake. It was built on. So thank you for that one, So Chill. And then for my Twitch family, man Jay, put it up for me. JM 9772, what's good with you? Anglo-Saxon is at the top of the Caucasian class hierarchy. Anglo-Saxon is two tribes, the Anglos and the Saxons. The Irish were viewed at the bottom because they were of a different tribe also. Thank you for that knowledge. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, and a lot of those things, like somebody said, you said, somebody speaking earlier said that it's kind of like unique to Americans because coming from the Caribbean, we are not used to that much of a separation, if you will.
Right.
Like when I came here, just a quick aside, it struck me, I'm used to people like me being in the highest positions of power.
Right.
So I try to write in that vein. I'm not negating anything that anybody's experienced. As a matter of fact, I do tend to not try to be like Americans, and it's not a put down anything. It's just that so I can fully appreciate who Americans are.
Right. Right.
And I learn a lot more about them that way. So what the things that happen in America, I still try to, in my writing, I try to say, there's a universal standard that was in existence before America was founded. I tell you, show you why it means so much to me. And this is in the book. I don't have my name, but it's something that happened to me.
Right.
I think I might have put it under my middle name, Anthony. Anyway, if you were to the book, you'll see it. A friend of mine from Japan, she's a musician, and we had dinner one night, and it was kind of like a thing, like a wit, and I was kind of like wondering how to broach the subject, and she out and asked me, well, how can an African American be a Christian when I send a master? She asked me that.
Right.
And I didn't try to deny it. I told her the religion that I follow, Christianity that I follow, goes back 2,000 years before the founding and settling of America or the transatlantic slave trade. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't go into that. So I'm not, and I didn't even deny it. I'm not trying to say it didn't happen. I'm just saying that when it comes to my faith, I follow principles that predate those things. So, although yes, they do have kind of like some effect on me, they don't control me.
Right.
And I gotta be careful. I'm not trying to speak to anybody's position or conviction. I'm defend the position I'm writing from. That makes sense?
Yeah. Which is a good thing, because like I said, at the end of the day, you're neutral. That's a good part about it.
In God, God is the one who has to judge, because none of us are any better really before God.
Yeah.
Some atrocious things happen. Yes, I won't deny, and it affects people both. And I touched on this in we write about conscience in the book. Yeah,
right.
It's in the first essay, and it don't just affect the people who might quote unquote the victims. It affects everybody,
right?
Because your moral standard is going to change based on what you allow to be involved. You allow yourself to be involved with. So I don't.
Let me make a little point in closing. I was out in Chicago. Had the opportunity to stay out in Chicago for a couple months. Got to know a bunch of good people and everything from out there. And I had a discussion with a young man dealing with a situation similar as far as this was a black young guy, and we were discussing America's history and what it would look like today if everything was an equal playing field. And I explained to him that that term 40 acres and a mule situation is not just a Spike Lee thing.
Right.
It's not just a Spike Lee thing. If you do your history on it. And then at one point, it was supposed to be given.
Yeah, it has historical significance for sure.
Right? And then it was taken back and given back to the oppressors, right? So the young man said to me, well, I don't think it's an issue with anything. You understand what I'm saying? So I think people should do their hardest, pull their bootstrap up and just go hard and, do what they have to. And I say, well, yo, how could you figure that? Because look, if your great grandfather owned 40 acres and a mule, right? And the guy next door that doesn't look like him owns 40 acres and a mule. But that guy next door decides now that he doesn't feel you should own the same amount as him because he feels you're inferior and you're not on his level. He's just going to walk over and tell you, I'm taking this.
And that was it.
Right? That's how it was. Because I told him, try to remember back then, you had a thing called a handshake, which was a word is your bond. Shake on it, you say this, and that the word bonds the deal. And there was no deed and all that stuff at a certain point until that came later. So I said, now, if he decides to take your great-great-great-grandfather's 40 acres and mule, and he adds it up, now he has 80 acres and a X amount of mules. So now when he decides to make, I don't know, Del Monte or Bluebell ice cream or whatever, right? And it becomes a big thing like the Rockefellers. Let's take it for that then. Or Walmart, or these families that are billionaires, trillionaires, and all these different things, right? Generational wealth.
Yeah.
That's going on for years. Now, do you really think that if you strap up your bootstrap, you're going to equal out eventually with them? You will never. And it's by design. You got to understand that. And it's by design. And it's unfortunate because, again, these are the same people that you are seeing that are going to church on a daily basis, and they don't have what we say, again, that moral compass to understand that what you preach, you have to live it. And if you're out here saying one thing, and then politically you come around to get the votes, but then once you get it, you go revert back to the old ways and different things of that nature. Not only do we, because again, pass the book. There's a piece in there that I got to close out with this part here. Hold on. I found it very interesting. So,
These things are biblical again. You can have them false prophet, all these things. Tells you about them.
I can't find it right now, but what it stated basically is that, again, like we spoke about, the image of God and everything, at the end of the day, you have to live it. Can't just come out and say certain things and feel like that's it. You actually have to live it because, like it stated, I remember a little piece of it where it stated that due to the fact that Christians are held at a different standard.
Yeah.
You understand? They're held at a different standard. So God is looking to you to uphold certain things because that's what you signed on for.
Right.
You understand?
I can I think I see what you're saying.
I was trying to find it.
I said mankind.
Right.
The last paragraph, mankind created in the image of God possesses volition and will to discern, decide, and choose right from wrong.
Right.
Of all mankind, believers are the one called to a higher standard.
Right. That's it.
Accountable to God for their conduct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I try to make that distinction. It's very important.
And I found that very interesting. And like I said, I definitely, I'm going to see about putting together the part 2, and we'll deal with finding out the issues with the video portions.
Yeah.
And then have you return so that we can visually see who you are and piece you with the book and everything, and we can go through even more discussions on this because it's very interesting. And then I want to do something a little bit different. We're gonna do a little different. Next go around when we do it, I'm gonna play devil's advocate on my side and just figure out different things, looking at it in a different perspective and try to see certain things. It's not gonna be the right thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not gonna be the right, but I just want to do something a little different and make things a little interesting in a different way. So we'll put that together as well. And have you come back. Yo, I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the book. I look forward to going deeper into the book and having more of discussions on other things within the book. And I encourage everyone out there, let me see the book. I'm going to just put it on the screen for everyone right now. Let them know where they can find the book. And
it's on Amazon and a site called books.by and Ingram Spark. But yeah, Amazon, most people know Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay. Available on Amazon. So let them know if they need to reach out to you, how they can reach you, anything of that nature.
Yeah, my address, king_news@yahoo.com.
Okay.
If you can, if you can share it.
Okay.
Probably having.
All right, so we'll put it up. We'll put it up on the site and everything of that nature as well.
I appreciate that, John.
No problem. Listen.
Talking to you, man.
When you get a chance, just shoot that over to the producer when you get a chance, please, David. And
who wants that?
The producer.
The guy.
If you could shoot your information over, we'll post everything on the site.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I actually, I don't know. I can do it again. I think I sent a cell sheet. I'll send it again to your producer, to Jamal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a lot of all the information on it. I'll send it.
All right, no problem. So listen, I want to thank you again, the author, for pass the book again. I'm gonna put the book up one more time. The author of this amazing book. All right, Davidson King. The book is called
But what? Oh God.
What About God? Politics, God, Religion, and Culture. Encountering God at the intersection of American politics, religion, and culture. Author Davidson King, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Great time, great conversation. We look forward to part 2. And again, for everyone out there, you can find the book on Amazon. Amazon, okay? Tell me you don't know where that's at. Okay, so if you can't find that, you're not from this planet. All right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Mr. King, I want to thank you again, and let's make it happen for part 2.
Yes,
right?
Definitely. Thank you very much for giving me a platform, man, and I pray God continues to bless you all guys in your endeavors.
Yeah. You too as well. Stay safe on that West Coast, okay?
Will do.
All right. For everyone else out there, thank you for joining us tonight live at the Barbershop every Friday night, 9 p.m. Be there, be square. Again, for everyone out there, you can find us on all the platforms. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe. And again, like I always say, get off the couch. Go out in the world and be somebody. All right? Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Go out in the world and be somebody.